Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from this month's sponsor, Ethico.
If you're a compliance officer, middle managers are crucial in getting your programs from you to your frontline employees. But how do we activate those managers and get them on our side? Ethico's new Middle Manager Toolkit equips you with the skills needed to empower your managers, to promote a culture where ethical behavior thrives and employees feel empowered to speak up. Learn how to turn frontline managers into ethical leaders with our new white paper, Empowering Middle Managers as Ethics Champions. And did I mention you can get the whole toolkit for free? Head to ethico.com to download the full toolkit today.
Welcome to the Daily Compliance News for March of 2025. Today is March 3rd, and our topic is So It Begins. And we begin with that story from the BBC, which reports that the Trump administration has hit Canada, Mexico, and China with tariffs, and China and Canada have retaliated. No word on what Mexico will do. Canada views this as an existential threat, and given the former trade relationship with Canada and Mexico, you can only assume that. And Canadian Prime Minister said there was no justification for new U.S. tariffs. So the bullying of the Trump administration continues, and it's only going to hurt the American consumer. But as the compliance professional, how are you going to respond? Next up, from the Wall Street Journal, the Treasury Department said it will not enforce the Corporate Transparency Act. And indeed, not only would it not enforce it against U.S. companies, it would enforce it against foreign companies who it's not designed to apply to. So FinCEN said it plans to eviscerate the rule. So what can you say? The Trump administration wants you to bribe and be corrupt, and now it wants you to money launder. Yes. Next up, from the New York Times, Kroger CEO resigns after board misconduct investigation. The grocery chain said it had investigated its chief executive and found his actions were inconsistent with the company's business ethics policy. Now, we don't know what those inconsistent actions were, but it was enough that he had to resign. The board did say it did not involve financial accounting or records, and it was a certain personal conduct of McMillan, which was unrelated to the business of Kroger. The company appointed Ronald Sargent, its lead director, as interim chief executive while it searches for a replacement. So it's not clear if he, couldn't keep his pants zipped up or what happened, but bad enough that Kroger felt like he needed to go. And our final story, with somewhat optimism, comes from the Financial Times. In the opinion section, Sarah O'Connor says that students must learn to be more than mindless machine minders. The human in the loop is one of the most ubiquitous phrases in AI and Gen AI, but she advocates that students need to learn to use the tools of AI and do it in a way that they become a part of the solution. I think it's a great article. I hope everyone will take the opportunity to read it and consider really the human in the loop and why those who can work with AI will be those who achieve more going forward. Happy March. At the start of this podcast, the sponsor for the entire Compliance Podcast Network is Ethico. Well, Ethico has a great new offering this month for you, a toolkit for middle managers. This is something that you, as the compliance professional, can use to move your compliance program forward by giving middle managers the skills necessary to answer a call for speak up or when someone comes in their office and raises a concern. I can't think of a tool that will be more valuable for you in the current era of enforcement. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.